Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Prep Life Podcast. This is your founder and CEO of Glam Girl Bikini, Amy Anger. And today I have the special privilege of having a wonderful guest, very newest, probably I could say, IFBB professional fit model, Meaghan Taylor. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. This is so exciting.
Yeah, I don't think there's been another like pro that qualifier since North Americans, right?
Yeah, I
So
think
me
you're right.
saying that you're the newest is correct.
One of them. Yeah. Yeah. There was a handful of us, right? The,
Yeah,
the
other
masters,
than
right?
maybe there might have been a pro qualifier in between there, but okay, so Megan and I, audience, have known each other for a long time. So how how long ago was it that
Gosh.
I think we met in I want to say 2018, but I
Yeah,
could be
that sounds
wrong.
about right. Outside, waiting for an
Yeah.
Uber at North
Yeah.
Americans in Pittsburgh. Was it North
Yep.
Americans or was it Masters? I can't remember. It was
I'm
one of
pretty
those.
sure it was North Americans because it was the year that Chris turned pro and I got fifth. I remember.
Okay. Then yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
that long ago.
Yeah. And you started competing in bikini what year?
Around that time. So it was around 2017 going into 2018 is when I really first started getting
Okay.
involved in it. And I got bit by the bug and I wanted to just keep doing it and competing. And then I realized that with Masters, there's only like three shows for us to
Yeah.
turn pro. And at the time I was bikini. I'd been bikini this entire time up until 7 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
that was it. So it was Jersey and then two Pittsburgh shows, and that was what I did every summer since 2017.
So you literally did Universe, Masters Nationals, and North Americans every summer,
Well, it was two
pretty
out of
much.
those three. I remember there were maybe 1 or 2 years out of that I did all three, but it was very difficult for me to convince my husband to do all three. And and so it was because that's normally, vacation time and the kids are home and we
Sure.
plan trips. And so it was always I'm on prep during those trips and trying to fit in the show in between all the different things that the kids have going on. So yeah, it was.
Yeah. So let's rewind a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself. So, what do you do? Where do you live? How many kids do you have? And how long you've been
Okay.
married to your husband? So, let's start with that.
Okay, so I'm Meaghan Taylor. I am 46 and I live in Sparks, Maryland. I've lived in Maryland my whole life.
Okay.
And I met my husband. He's born and raised in Maine, but I met him when were both working at Shock Trauma. I am a nurse. I started out in nursing, got my bachelor's in nursing, and that's when I met Patrick. And then we got engaged, and then we decided to both go back to school. So I got my master's in nursing we got married in 2003, and I got my master's in '05. And I'm an acute care nurse practitioner, and I've been a nurse practitioner for since 2005. And I worked at Hopkins and University of Maryland and did surgical ICU, neuro ICU. I did PACU. My love, though, is surgery. So surgical ICU is my main focus. And then started having kids. Patrick went back to school for anesthesia. And so he went to Georgetown, and we were trying to deal with a new marriage in grad school. And then we welcomed Sam, my oldest. He was born in 2008. And then we welcomed little Charlie. He came very early into the world. He was a preemie. I had a placental abruption with him in 2010. And he was 12 weeks early. So he was a 28 weeker and was very sick for a very long period of time. And so I went through all those emotions of having a sick child, and I had a toddler at home, and so really I didn't work much then. And then when he was more healthy, then I started working just part-time per diem in the hospital. And then yeah, and then surprise, we found out we were pregnant with our with our daughter, Gwendolyn. She was born in 2014, and she was a surprise, but the best one ever.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until then that I was like, gosh, I've got three kids and I'm super busy. And I still tried to work in the hospital. But then when COVID hit and all three kids were home, it was like, oh, this isn't going to be super feasible. And I found an amazing job to work from home. And I work as now at 1099. I've been working for them. I work as a legal NP consultant. So we do toxic tort litigation. And so I work solely from home, going through med review. And I've been doing that since, gosh, Gwenny was probably I started when she was in pre-K. So I want to say this was around 2016. Yeah. And then I've been with them
Okay.
ever since. So
So kind of when you started competing, then it sounds like that timeline lines up, which
yeah.
probably I don't know how else you would have fit that in as well.
Right. And it's one of those things where, so like I started when I had Gwen, I had gained in that pregnancy because, so see, when Charlie was born and it was so tumultuous, it was like, we don't know why I had the abruption. And so then when we found out we were pregnant with Gwenny, we were like, oh my gosh, I was super high risk. So in that, I had to get like progesterone injections and I had to be on bed rest. And so all in that time period, I gained a good 50, 60 pounds during that pregnancy. And that's what led me to start lifting. Prior to that, I'd been a runner. I ran marathons, Marine Corps, Baltimore. I was a big, big runner. I ran in high school, cross country, and I did track. I did the hurdles and track.
Okay.
So I was always a runner. I didn't believe in lifting or the power of lifting or that lifting is even worth it or fun. I was like, if I'm not running, I'm not living. And then and then I realized after the third pregnancy, I was running and I was not losing any weight, and it was very frustrating. Hence, I started lifting and it all changed. So,
Yeah. So when did you start working on nutrition, or has that always been pretty easy for you? Like in terms of like what you were eating?
yeah, I tried doing it on my own for a while. I tried to just kind of do my own thing. I didn't think it mattered as much, and that you could, what is it like, outwork out a bad diet? Is that how that is? Or
You
out?
can't ever outwork a bad diet. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was not really the case. I hit 35 and my metabolism was like, "Mm, we're going to change things up." And so my old, tricks didn't seem to work anymore. And that's when I hired a coach because I was like, I'm missing something. I love training. I'll train to the cows come home, but I need help with the nutrition aspect of things. And then that's when I was introduced to macros. And that's what I use fully now is macros.
Okay, and I just know this because we had a conversation. We kind of hung out in Pittsburgh, which was super fun to have some one-on-one time with you. But you were telling me about how you kind of got started with Beachbody, right? Didn't you do a competition with them, and then
Yeah.
that's kind of what interested you in the NPC and all that?
Yeah, exactly. I needed to do something at home. I couldn't go to a gym. I couldn't leave my three kids. And I knew that I wanted to do something to get me
Yeah.
back in shape. And I started with Insanity and I loved it because it was mostly cardio based. And I would do that in my living room with my kids watching, and my husband would do it with me sometimes. And that really spurred my love for it. And then I got into that. And then part of their yearly summit get together, there's a Beachbody Classic where you go up and you pretty much like any NPC show, you do a routine, you compete. And it's kind of like all these results were from those programs, which at that point they
Hmm.
were. And so I made top 10 in that. And I thought, oh my God, out of like hundreds and hundreds of people. And I had never competed
Wow.
before. I had never done anything along those lines. And I thought, this is really cool. I enjoy this. And so I reached out to a very good friend of mine, Rich Siegelman, who at the time was promoting along the DMV, within the Mid-Atlantic. And he recommended certain people to get in touch with for posing help and coaching. And so from there, that's what got me into the NPC. And I've been with NPC the entire time. That's the only group I've been with. I know there's others within this area, but I've only done NPC. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think something that makes you really special in terms of for one thing, you're a very talented athlete in bikini as well. I know you've had a lot of top placements there, but I think it's really unique that you're a lifetime natural athlete and a vegetarian. So tell us a little bit more about that and kind of, um, like how you make that work, but also, I guess like your philosophy in terms of how you feel that maybe like with the natural side of things, like how that evolved into eventually you becoming a fit model pro and stuff like that. So I know that was a lot in one thing, but
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I feel like I've always kind of been someone that does things differently in that I don't work out in a gym. I have a gym in my basement that I've just built over the years. So I have a cable and a Smith and I've got dumbbells and I've got all kinds of, barbells and plates, but I've had to grow that over the years. And so I've solely worked out from home. I mean, going on vacation is fun for me because I get to check out the gyms that are in the location.
yeah,
It's like a kid in a candy store here, man. Oh my God. What am
like your amusement
I'm
park,
missing? Yeah,
literally.
it's like the coolest thing ever to be able to do a leg press. I'm like, oh my God. Um, but work out from home. I've always worked out at home in my basement when everybody's sleeping. I am a vegetarian. I didn't used to be. I was born and raised, eating meat. I'm from Baltimore and we're crab, we love our steamed crabs. And but then, throughout my different pregnancies and different hormone stuff, I started to get just kind of turned off by meat and just never really I just never really seemed to get out of that after having babies, those first trimester aversions. And so that stuck. And then I'd reached out to a couple coaches when I was very new into my career. So around the time that I met you, and I told them that I was a vegetarian, and several well-known coaches said, well, good luck because there's no way that you will be able to do this. And I was like, game on. And so all you need to do is tell me I can't do something, and I'm that much more determined to prove them wrong. And so those three coaches out there, I did it. But it's one where I have to really pay more attention to my protein and getting it from different sources. So
hmm
I have to have a lot of like my vegan protein powder. I'm not a vegan, but I do like the vegan protein powders, and I do a lot of Greek yogurt, and I can dress it up with certain things, with fruits or even like sugar-free pudding mix, or I even, do cottage cheese, and I will mix cottage cheese with frozen fruit. There's different ways that I get it in, and then of course my
Yeah.
tofu that I just air fry or I just put on the skillet. And so anyway, with that being said, I have to also pay attention to like getting my essential amino acids. So I do those supplements and just being a lifetime natural, I felt like I was putting on muscle, but I feel like as you get older, you hit a certain limit, and I could see the way that that the bikini division was going. And back in like 18, 19, even 20, I was getting second place, third place at national shows. Like I was so close to my pro card back then. I mean, even in the tent during COVID, remember that in the rain?
Yes.
Thank you, Gary, for still keeping that show. Um,
Yeah.
I think I was like third. Like it was wild that I was so close. And then as the years went, you could tell there was just like a huge trajectory. And my placings were like, there were several years where I didn't make top five. I came home many years without hardware after coming home for many years with hardware. And so it was a hard
Right.
transition, but I think what it did was it really taught me grit, and that like how bad do you want this, and if there is a way it'll get done. And I never in a million years thought that it would be like that there would even be a fit model division. And I it was so that's why it was kind of like, I know God had a hand in it, because for it to happen the way that it did, it has to be. So anyway, with
Yeah.
that being said, I've competed in masters nationals back in mid-July, and I got 10th. I mean, I made first call outs, but I was always on the end, and I never got moved. And I could just tell that, they were just so much bigger in terms of just the muscle mass, which was amazing. And so every year I just keep grinding and pushing and, lifting heavy and really working hard in my off season. And so then when Fit Model started, I thought, well, this isn't really for me. It's fine. I'm just going to keep grinding and doing bikini. And then it was funny because after I had gotten 10th back in July, literally the next day, like I drove home from Pittsburgh and I got to sleep for maybe 3 or 4 hours. And then it was our family vacation. So we both took separate cars because we had to drive. We had so much gear. We drove to Outer Banks. So I'm like driving in the car, like just, sipping on my Alani caffeine drink. And I get this message from my coach and she's like, how you doing? I'm like, I'm okay. I'm, back to the grind and we're just going to keep doing this like hamster on a wheel. And she's like, well, I have an idea. She's like, what if we tried Fit Model? And I kind of thought, and I was like, you know what? Why not? Let's do it. What do I have to lose? Let's just she had mentioned a post from Evan Wells that is also a
Hmm.
coach on our team, Team Pro Physique. And
Yeah.
he said, if you didn't place in the top 5 of your class at the last national show, you should consider Fit Model because more muscular physiques are being rewarded. The division is constantly evolving, and this could be a good place for you. And I thought, he's got a really good point. So that's very same day, I reached out to Lana Dunbar, my posing coach, and she was like, absolutely, let's do it. I can help you. Because she even does like the stallion pose in her routine as bikini.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I thought, I'm going to get this going. And then I got a suit. And then for those last 6 weeks, in between the two shows, I was just totally switching the mindset into a fit model. And it was a little crazy. I was a little nervous because I'm like, I don't know what are we judging? What's the criteria? I don't know. Like,
I know. I think I got a lot of texts in between those 6 weeks.
you did. I was like, I don't
Am I
feel so
doing the
great
right
about
thing?
this. What are we doing? Because we were trying to plan rooming together and like how we were going
Yes.
to maneuver the trip and are we doing it and like what are the pro card awards? And so it was
Yes.
a very emotionally tumultuous 6 weeks.
It's a great word. You've used it twice very well. It's a good vocab word. It's tumultuous. I love it. Okay, so what was the most challenging thing, or I guess not necessarily maybe challenging, but what was like the most different thing about Fit Model that you felt like was like, okay, this is like the biggest change from bikini that I'm not used to, or whatever it is.
Posing, I think the
The
posing.
posing.
I was so nervous that, my brain is wired to do that bikini front pose. And I thought, I know it. I'm going to get up there on that stage and I'm going to do this bikini pose. And I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? So I just had to, but I felt like with the front pose, the way that Lana positioned me, it felt so much more natural than the bikini pose ever did.
Uh-huh.
And it just like I just felt like my body morphed into it better, even though it was different and it was scary because it was new. And bikini is what I had done for 7, 8 years. So I thought, oh my gosh, this is my body. Is it going to have the muscle memory of the bikini posing? But it worked out really well. And the fact that with Fit Model, the posing is fast. They don't want you staying in they want your transitions quick. They don't want you playing around. Um, and I think that it was funny with the North Americans. I think Paul had mentioned something like you could tell who the bikini girls were because their routines were longer.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we
I think he said
naturally.
that about me probably because
Me too. Yeah.
one of my friends was like, "Oh, you're doing like the model pose, you're doing the peek over the
The look
shoulder."
over
I'm
the
like,
shoulder. I know.
"Yeah, I'm
I
going to. I'm gonna milk it. I don't care." Because they always said that about bikini. They said, you have a mandatory front pose, you have a mandatory back
know.
pose. There really aren't actual poses for the transitions.
But you're
Like in
supposed
my
to judge
posing
them.
handbook, I
Right.
have all these different transitions, but it's like they aren't an actual pose. You're not actually getting scored on those. So you're
Exactly.
actually supposed to get from front to back as quickly as possible.
As
But
quickly as possible. Exactly. Oh, and
yeah.
then the other thing too is the walk, which I didn't
Okay.
do so great on, but I've never really done an overall before. But Lana was like, we've got to go over the walk because if you do hit the overall, they're going to have you do a walk to the back, get your back pose, and then they're going to have you turn around and you got to go quick and you got to go and, get to the front and nail your front pose. And I
Yeah.
never really done that walk before. So that was
Well, it's
new,
good
a
you
little scary.
practice because
I did. Yeah.
for those of you that don't know, at North Americans, A through D, you not only were the class winner, but you also had to win the overall to get the pro card. So And they had at the last second, and we prayed about it. We kind of like prayed, like, because so many people were getting flustered that like they combined class B with class C and didn't really tell anybody. And they kind of did that to me at, Masters Nationals, where they dropped my D class and like didn't tell me that I was in C and they were already on stage. So I was like, everybody was kind of frantic about it. I'm like, let's grab hands, let's pray. I was so glad that you did that. And then you handled it like a champ because you had how many in your B class that got combined with C?
I think there were only three or four of
Three.
us. It wasn't enough. It was at
Okay.
the minimum of five to make a class.
Yeah.
There were three or four of us in B, which was weird because in
And then
bikini,
they're about the
the
same.
sizing is different. Because in bikini, I'm always class C with my height. I'm 5'3¾". And so
Right.
because of the fit model changing their height classes, I would fit into the B. And so then when there weren't enough, they put all of the B and the C together. And so yeah, that was a last minute change backstage. Because I
Yeah.
was like sitting there and they're like, okay, A, and then they went right from A to C. And I'm, wait,
You're
where's
like, wait
B?
a
It's like,
minute.
oh, we
Where'd B
combined
go?
it.
Yeah. So
No,
it,
good to
it ended up
know.
being three people in the overall. So A, your BC hybrid, and then D.
Yep. And
And
D.
then, yeah, she won the overall in the 45. And so rewinding back to that, I just remember I was watching it from the side. And then I watched the video on Coach Paul's YouTube. It was kind of cool to actually see the walk to the back curtain for you all because I kind of saw it from the side, but I'm like, I can't really see what their glutes are even looking like right now as they're walking to the
Yeah.
back curtain. Um, but yeah, that moment, like, I mean, it was captured on video of you just starting to break
Yeah.
down and cry. Like, what were you thinking at that moment? Like, when was the point? I know at some point you thought that there was probably a chance because I think you had an odd number in your class
Yes,
and you were dead
I
center.
did.
So
Yep.
I know that you changed your hotel. I know for the audience, they don't know this, but that she drives home after finals,
Yeah.
5 hours
I
to
did.
Baltimore. So you booked a hotel room that night. So I think you knew that you were staying for the long haul.
Yeah.
When was the
Yeah.
moment that you thought that you had kind of gotten it?
I mean, I knew that I had gotten first since I was dead center and I was moved in and I was kept there and there were seven of us. So that made
Yeah,
me feel good. So I at least knew that. And I had checked out of my room. Checkout was like 11 or 10. But
sure.
what I do is like I clean the room, I get everything out, and then I just park backstage with my suitcase and all my stuff. And I load my car with the stuff that I don't need. And I had parked right there at the Sheraton. And when I mean, prejudging took so long. I mean, oh my gosh, the
Yeah,
poor open bikini girls didn't even get on until like 4 or 5 o'clock. And
yeah.
so with finals being moved from 6 to 7, and with me being in the center, I thought, okay, I don't think that I'm gonna have to stay. Normally, I don't stay for finals if I know that I'm like, and that's the thing. I feel like we wait around and then it's
Hurt us like cattle at
yeah,
nationals.
and
Now this is
and
at
if
nationals, so yeah, it's a
yeah,
different thing. It's just
people
for
have
the
different,
audience
yeah,
members that don't know. Like if
yeah,
you've never done a show, it's not always the best idea to leave for
correct.
finals. But at these, I think they would almost rather you if you know that you're not in the top five because they really don't do you justice. Like your family might as well not even go to the night show if or pay for it
Agree.
if you're not in the top five. And even with the top five, it's not like a huge
Yeah,
to do. All the
it is.
stuff's in the
Yeah,
morning. Yeah.
exactly. And knowing that I have, 4.5 hour drive ahead of me, the sooner I can get on the road, the better.
Yeah.
But then with the finals being so late, I was like, oh gosh, I think I'm gonna just have to get another room for tonight because I don't think I can drive home after this. This is pretty bad.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that my husband was like, just get a room. It's not worth getting in an accident over, driving home or pulling over at a rest stop and sleeping. Like just stay. So that's what I did end up doing. And yeah, it was still very surreal. Like it's very strange because you have this goal for so long. And I just felt as the years were going by that I was like a circle trying to fit into a square. I couldn't go the enhanced route. I had to stay natural. I wanted to stay natural for my kids, for my health, knowing the side effects. I just wanted to do it that way. And it just didn't seem like it was going to work. And when Fit Model just kind of rolled in, I thought, oh my gosh, this is finally the division where we can stay natural and we can, for those who choose to, it's totally your choice and respect either choice. But for me, I knew that this was a great way that I could still reach my goal and not have to not do that stuff. So it worked out. The timing was perfect because it was just such a great division to add not even a year ago. So
Yeah. So did you kind of, I mean, I could see the look on your face. Like, I mean, obviously you broke down crying. Like, I don't want to use the words ugly cry, but it
it
was a pretty
was.
cry, but an ugly cry.
It was.
It was very emotional. Was that the moment that it kind of hit you was when you were on the diagonal, or did you kind of have an idea because you were in the middle naturally because it was A on one side of you and D on one side of you, and you were in the
Right.
middle of three, but they never moved you. So did you even have it in your mind that it was going to become a reality, like before you stepped on that diagonal or at all, or
Not
just,
not really, because
yeah,
I thought either way I was going to be happy because I knew I got first in my class. And I was really excited about that. But it's just one of those things where you want it to happen so badly every single year, and then you're so used to it not happening that when
yes,
it does, it's like I'm dreaming right now. That's the only way I can think of it. Like this is a
yeah,
dream. Because it's just been, and every year my kids are like, "It's all right, mom. It's all right." I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "What are you gonna do?" And they're like, "Are you gonna stop?" I'm like, "No, mom's just gonna keep going." Just
yeah,
that you don't quit. Because I don't do it for that, and I don't do it for show day. I do it because I love the process of bodybuilding. I love getting up and I love training every morning, and I love that whole like what it does for my mental health. It's like my therapy. Every morning I go into my gym, I've got my dog, I just get my beats on and I just jam out to Eminem, and that's like my therapy. So regardless of whether it happened or not, I would still be doing the same thing. Nothing would have changed. So it's still very surreal. I'm so thankful. And I'm glad that I got to share it with you because my family wasn't there. I like, they stay home, they've got their own stuff going on, and
yeah.
I'd rather them, but they watched on the live stream, which was super cool. But it was
Oh,
just so
good.
great to have you and Paul there. It was just the icing on the cake. So it made it really, really special.
Yeah, and he's kind of seen your journey, even though he hasn't been your coach,
Yeah.
which I don't think we've mentioned. Did we mention that it's Christina Castle?
Yeah. Oh, no, we didn't. But yes,
Yeah.
Coach Castle, yes.
Yeah, so she's always coached you remotely. So obviously this can work. You can go pro, you can
Oh,
play
100%.
Stab 5
Yes.
remotely. Yeah, just out of curiosity, like him seeing because he's seen your journey too, right? Because he kind of helps out when you're
Yes.
backstage and all of that. But yeah, so okay, kind of switching gears just because you mentioned your family watching on the live stream and I'm the same way. You're it's kind of like one of those things like if you bring your family, it's like you almost feel more guilty because it's
Yeah,
kind of a rough day for them. Like they're
it is.
either bored, you can't do
Yep.
much
Yep.
because you're in
They
a
have questions.
tan
When are you going on? Like, do I
and then it
know? I
just
don't
makes you
know.
feel guilty that they're like waiting around and it's almost better that way like in a way just making it be like a girls week. But in
Oh,
what
yeah. I
ways?
mean, and I don't go on any other trip. So this is the only time I'm ever away. So
Yeah.
this is like the two times a year is the only time that I'm ever like by myself. So
Yeah.
it's always, and when you were going, I was like, let's do this. Let's go to the gym. Let's spend time, so it is like a girls' weekend.
Yeah, I was glad that you could come out with us too at night. It was nice to spend extra time with you. But I mean, in what ways? So, speaking from a mom like that has kids, and is there any advice that you have for women that are, in a relationship and, they have children? Like, what are your top like tips or advice, like as a mom trying to do this sport and make it work for your family and any advice that you have for them?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is fitting it in especially when they were younger. Now, of course, they're older, they're 17, 15, and 11. But when they were younger, I would have to do it in the morning very early before anybody woke up. And I remember just doing that. And then usually around midday, I would have to take like a 10-minute nap, just like at parent loop, like right like right before parent pickup, I would just lay back 10 minutes, get my nap in because I was always so tired. Now that they're older, it's just part of life now. Like they just know that this is what mom does, and it's become such a routine, and it's become such a part of our my life and really ultimately their lives. They're used to it, and
Yeah.
they're used to me not eating meat. They all eat meat. They're all steak and potatoes and enjoying all the chicken and ground beef. They're used to me not. It's just what mom does. So, but
Yeah.
it's not that it's weird or it's just part of who I am, and accepting differences is, part of life, and being able to be a good human is accepting other people's differences. And mine is that I just don't eat meat. But I think too, proving, getting it done, and it seems selfish, and there's a lot of times that maybe you might feel as though you're looked at as being selfish, but you doing this thing, and me going down there every day and working out, or you going to the gym, or whatever it is, it makes us better parents. It makes me a better mom. It makes me a better wife and a better friend. And I think it just helps us to exude the confidence that ultimately we want our kids to show in life as adults as well, and the importance of consistency and dedication. And sometimes you may not be motivated, but you do it anyway, and that's a good role model to be for your kids. And so my advice would be to
Absolutely.
keep doing it. It's not selfish, it makes you better, and they get to see that better version of you, and that makes it worth it.
Yeah. And then aside from which I know that you had conversations like even at the gym, like with your husband about, your daughter making the volleyball team and like how to have that conversation and navigate the pickup drop off, stuff like that. So aside from that, obviously that's a huge part. But like, what are some other ways that your husband shows up for you with support? And then how do you make him feel like special or valued, or like how do you reciprocate, and how does that whole dynamic work that this competing like kind of enhances your relationship versus like detracts?
I think at first he was getting frustrated with the way that things were going with bikini, and that he knew that I didn't want to use any performance enhancing stuff, and he agreed that that wouldn't be smart. And so to see me come home year after year and just get further and further away, it was
Hmm.
frustrating for him. And I think that but he kind of kept, he would voice his concerns, but then he kind of stepped back, and I said, listen, this is just, it's still important to me regardless. And it's a goal of mine, and I want to reach it. And I think that like women having a role, a goal to hit a certain benchmark, whatever it is, and to say, this is just what I want to do, and it's for me. And then he respected that, and he was like, okay, and he's a runner, so he loves to run, and that's his thing. And he ran, D1 at University of Maine, and played soccer at University of Maine. So he comes from
Wow.
an athletic background, and I think that that also helped, because he could see, that over, it's just those daily things that you do every day that make the difference. And he knew that, being an athlete, and so he was able to support that. And it's funny because he, when we do go on vacations, I will be like, does the hotel have a gym? And then he'll check out the gym for me online, like, and then it has this and that. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to see what gyms are nearby, and maybe I can get like a week membership. And so we do sort of plan things based on, like, is there a gym? Is there one close by? So,
Good.
yeah, and he's great.
Good.
I mean, that I don't eat what they eat, and I have to make my own separate meals, or like when we go out to dinner, I will bring my food. It's just always what
Yeah.
I've done, and it's just become just how we work, and he's very accepting of it. And so that helps a lot, because I
Yeah.
can understand having resistance. It took a lot for me to get him used to it. So it's just consistency and being dedicated to your goal. That's going to keep you focused, and just all the other stuff is just white noise.
Yeah. So speaking of, this is off, it just, my head went to this. Like you had sent me all these quotes of like things that were in your gym and things that you've posted up and stuff like that. So can you share like a quote or two that were your
Sure.
favorite that the audience maybe would benefit from? I don't know if you.
Yeah, let me see if I can. I did print off a few
Oh, yay.
because I wanted to just have them nearby. Okay. And some of these are from people that I follow on social media, and I don't know exactly who, so I apologize. I don't want to plagiarize. But one of them is when it is not in God's time, you cannot force it. When it is in God's time, you cannot stop it. So that's kind of like, okay, you
Beautiful.
relinquish the reins and you just know that you're going to try your best and whatever happens happens and it's in his timing. That's better than any of our timing. Is his understanding is way more, advanced than ours. So,
Yes.
um let's see.
Love it.
Another one that I really like, and I think this is from, oh gosh, I forget his name. He trained Paul when Paul was just starting.
Lane Norton.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It says any goal worth having will not be easy. There will be setbacks, there will be frustration, there will be tears, there will be pain, there will be failure. They are critical for success as they will be your greatest teachers. Do not run from them, face them head on, never quit. And I love that one. And then I also
Mhm.
love one from Julie Andrews. It says, perseverance is failing 19 times and succeeding the 20th, which is like, is us.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that how many you had? How
Feels
many
like
sets
that.
you've
Yeah.
done? Something like that. I know I've done more.
Yeah. And it will happen. It absolutely will happen. We just have to keep showing up. And that's what Paul always used to tell me was like, just keep showing up. And I remember hearing like, okay, you've got a couple options. You can either just stop or you can take off a good 2, 3 years to try to grow. And I was like, I don't want to, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to take
Yeah.
off 2 or 3 years. I'd
Yeah.
love, I like the yearly, going through the prep and seeing my
Mhm.
friends and the whole routine of, and so, yeah, so that's what ended up happening was
Okay.
just, yeah.
Yeah. So as far as like your now that you're pro, what's your next goal? Like what, I mean, because you mentioned that this is part of your life. You do this every morning. So what's now like getting you up in the morning to continue other than the fact that you love this lifestyle? Do you have a goal? Did you get judges' feedback that you want to share with the audience or?
Yeah, I did. I received feedback from 2 judges, and the one mentioned that I was borderline too lean, and which I still had that bikini conditioning because it
Yep.
was just so recent, and we didn't really change my macros or my training. It was more just the posing that we had switched up, and so I can see in my pictures that I definitely was a little too lean. So I think
Okay.
so my coach got me. We increased calories. She gave me a whole new training plan. And so that started 2 weeks ago. So when I got home, we just started right back up again. And my goal, I mean, there are no pro shows right now, not until I
Right.
guess 2026. So my goal is definitely to compete as a pro. And I mean, ultimately, I would love to go to the Masters Olympia for Fit Model. Being 46, I'll be 47 in April. So it would be great to be part of that Masters community. Mike, I just want to represent Fit Model and natural athletes, prove that you don't need breast implants. You can be a vegetarian. You can work out at home and be natural and still be a pro. And I want to represent the pro athlete that's a master's athlete, that's a mom, that has a full-time job. You can still do it. And I want to represent that for the IFBB and show up and, try to represent that brand.
That's a lot of things you're representing that are just incredible. So even just one of those would be like a huge thing, but you embody a lot of different things and I think a lot of people that are trying to do the sport or some people that are maybe making those excuses, they see you and like, hey, like look at her, like she's doing this and she has all these things on her plate. She's able to overcome all these obstacles and get it done. And I just admire
Only
you
by
for
God's
that.
grace. It's only by God's grace.
Yeah, yeah. So word on the street is the first pro show is going to be in Tokyo. So would
Get
it be
out,
something
really?
that you would ever go somewhere?
I don't
And I
know.
know that
No,
the Pittsburgh will have it for sure,
yeah,
Pittsburgh Pro. So that'll be
that's
in May,
true.
but
Yeah. And I believe there is a if I'm not mistaken, I think there is a Masters Pro show here in Maryland. I might have to go back and look. I can't remember. I just remember as an amateur when I would do the regional shows, there were pros that were competing. And
Yeah.
I never even, because I just didn't have that mindset. So I wasn't even really thinking about it at the time. This is also like circa 2018, 2019. So I'd have to see if there are some Maryland shows. But yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
interesting. And also Italy, if there's anything in Italy, I would love to go back to Italy.
I've been there twice to compete. They do a good job with the two bros out there. But yeah, as far as like I don't think they have the 2006 schedule. I just heard Emily Chanel, saying the rumor that the first pro fit model is going to be over in Tokyo. So that's the word on the street. That's the rumor.
I know
Whether
they're
or
having
not
it
I
at the
know that
Olympia,
that's
which
been
is cool.
confirmed.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said I know they're doing it in the Olympia, so that's going to be great for 2026.
Yeah, they did it for the Masters Olympia this year in 2025, but they only do the Masters Olympia
Me too.
every other. So
Yeah.
yeah, so next year won't be a Masters Olympia, but I'm sure you will be able to qualify for the 2027. So weird that we're talking about that. But yeah, I'm so excited for you and everything that you have going on, and I'm so proud of you. And couldn't be more happy.
Thank-
If our listeners felt the same way, which I'm sure they did, and they want to tag you on their story, you can find us at Prep Life Podcast or at Glam Girl Bikini, but also tag Meaghan. You can find your Instagram on IG is what?
Yes, is my name, and it's spelled differently, Megan. It's
Yeah.
Meaghan dot M because my middle name is Melissa dot Taylor, and then it's IFBB Pro. I think I have that written. I had to change it. I don't know.
Yeah. So we'll put it in the show notes so you can
Yeah.
all find her, you can tag her, tell her how much appreciate this episode. I know I learned some new things and just got re-inspired again. I just feel like you're the fit model of just showing us that like keep showing up, it will happen, and all in like maybe not your timeline, but that higher power if you believe in it. And so thank you so much for coming on. If you would like to apply for coaching with myself or Lee Marie, who is sick today, you can go to glamgirlbikini.com and hit the get started button. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you for having me.